Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I want to be talking to you guys about the upcoming ban list. Yes, it is ban list season. I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited for it. I know I am because I'm tired of playing against the same stuff all the time. Now, basically, what we're expecting on this ban list is hopefully just some changes to the current format. Of course, like that's what every ban list is, let's be honest. But what I'm talking about is that there's so much diversity in the current format right now to where I feel that we're just not getting anywhere. You have decks like Mathemat, you have decks like Kashtira, you have Swordslet, you have Sprite, you have Branded, you have Runic, you have Runic Materia, you have Runic Plunder. You have so much stuff in the current format to where we just don't even know what to play anymore. So with that being said, I just feel like there has to be like a good significant amount of change on this next ban list because, well, quite frankly, I'm kind of sick of the current format and I kind of want some diversity. So starting off with the bans, I have just a couple bans. I don't really feel like anything needs to be banned. I just feel like stuff has to be basically limited or basically just go like, just cut down the consistency as much as possible, basically. The first card I have banned is Diabolsis, the Mind Hacker. I mean, let's be honest, this card has to go. Like turn one, you basically lose like half your deck. You lose cards in your extra deck. You lose basically any kind of like resource game that you have just off of this one card alone. And with them being able to just go Arise Heart as well, or you have Shangri, there's basically just no way coming back if a Diabolsis like successfully resolves, and it kind of sucks. But I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels this way about the Diabolsis hit. I mean, even people that I know that play Kashtira say the card should be banned. People like that play Kashtira just don't even have fun, but it's technically the best deck, but I feel like that deck definitely does have a lot of faults. But I guess on paper, yes, it is the best deck of the format, but Mind Hacker is basically just what gives the deck its bread and butter, other than a Rise Heart, but that is just a topic for another time. I'm almost certain that every single ban list that you see from here until the next list is going to have Mind Hacker probably at number one, but let's just be honest, it definitely needs to leave. The next card that I have banned is Branded Expulsion. I mean, Branded Expulsion definitely needs to go as well. Being able to set up the Nightmare Lock, being able to set up like Ra's Disciple, which is basically what would happen if we did ban the gimmick Puppet Nightmare. But that's why I don't feel like Nightmare should be hit, because let's be honest, there are gimmick Puppet players somewhere. Maybe. But if you get rid of the Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, then you still have Expulsion live and legal, and then you can just summon the Ra's Disciple, which basically accomplishes the same thing Nightmare does. To an extent, don't get me wrong, there's a way to out the Disciple, but basically if you out the Nightmare, you're still locked into no special summonings that turn. So Expulsion just has to go. Nothing really too crazy for the bans. I just feel like Expulsion and Mind Hacker are just like the number ones to be banned. You could argue other cards, but I just don't think that there's anything really more deserving of a ban. You could argue like Branded Lost. You could argue like the Mathemat Trap, but I think that's just way too soon. Going into the limited section, there's a lot, and that's why I really wanted to get to the limits. The bans were just nice and easy, like your mom. For cards that I have limited, of course, I have Kashtira Fenrir. Let's be honest, this card should either be banned or at 1. I just don't think that this card can be at 3, mainly because of the splashability it has in other decks as well. You have decks like Punk that can use it just to search another and then make a Baron de Flor out of it. You have decks like Sprite that like to access Fenrir. You could use it with Swordslet. You could use it with Runic. You could use it with basically anything that you want. And I feel like that's why Kashtira Fenrir also just needs to go to 1. And of course, when it's in its actual deck, being Kashtira, it's even more of an issue. I don't think they're going to limit Unicorn. I just feel like that's just a bit ridiculous because Fenrir is really just the one that gives it all the like accessibility. Granted, you could put Birth to 1 if you really wanted to like hit Unicorn that bad, but that's just how dumb that sounds. I just feel like Fenrir has just overstayed its welcome, whether it was this format or last format when people were really teching it and everything. I just think the versatility that it has is basically why it needs to go to 1. It's like a much better Pankratops, and then it also acts as like a Cyber Dragon. It acts as so many different kind of like resources. But let's just put it to 1 so no one plays it in anything other than Kashtira, which is perfectly acceptable. The next card I have is Runic Tip. I think Tip to 1 is basically what's going to be like more, not necessarily the nail in the coffin. I just feel that it's going to be to where Runic is just a little bit more balanced. I feel like putting Hugin or even Fountain to 1 is basically just a little bit too over dramatic. I think that's just bad like booking by Konami, especially because we had the Megatins coming out, which is another spoiler because I don't have any of the adventure cards on the ban list prediction. So there's a spoiler for you as well. For them to be able to push these products, you can't really be banning the stuff that they're going to be putting in it. So I feel like putting tip to 1 and just lowering the consistency just a little bit is basically going to be the way to make this deck just a little bit more fair in terms of playability, because you have like all the Runic stuff, you have all of the Naturia cards, which is probably the best way to play Runic, which, don't get me wrong, is my next topic. My next card that I have at 1, I either have Naturia Mole Cricket or I have Naturia Camellia, because both of those cards are just way too good, and they definitely generate way too much access for like the main combos of Naturia Runic, them being able to just pop off, basically get the whole engine going, just very simple, very easy. Camellia probably being like the worst one, like to have around at 3, I should say. Like if anything, we should probably put Camellia to 1, keep Mole Cricket, but Camellia is the one that basically foolishes the Naturia trap, and then you basically get access to your blessing, which is just not once per turn for some reason. It's also a way to just generate the cost effects of your Naturia cards. Sunflower, good fucking luck outing that. Good fucking luck. Because it's like, even if you out the Sunflower by attacking it, they have the Slumber to protect the Sunflower. So that's just not going to work. But I feel like one of these cards definitely have to go to 1, whether it's the Mole Cricket, whether it's the Camellia. Mole Cricket is just another topic for another day. But one of those cards to 1, that would be amazing. Next card that I have at 1, unfortunately, is either Sprite Blue or Sprite Starter. It is the deck that I enjoy playing the most, but let's be honest, like, I'd sound like a hypocrite if I didn't put Sprite on this ban list prediction in some way, shape, or form. I really feel like the deck can still play if it does have 3 blue, which is why I feel like if anything, they are probably going to hit starter. If you limit Sprite Blue and then you still keep starter at 3, you still have access to getting to that blue, you still have good recursion with the jet. Let's be honest, I mean, we can't really have Sprite be at full power. I mean, granted, it's not, because Elf is still banned for some reason. I'm just kidding. I know exactly why Sprite Elf is banned. I just feel like if they are going to hit Sprite in some way, shape, or form, they should probably put starter to 1, because it is basically an E-Telly. Granted, you have that restriction, but the restriction just doesn't matter for Sprite. I know, I've been there. I'm hoping they don't limit blue, because let's be honest, if blue is still at 3 and starters at 1, I'm still gonna play the deck. Next on my limits, I have Mathemat Circular. The card's busted. I mean, I shouldn't really have to explain too much. I think it just generates way too much access for that deck, and I feel like since it is being able to grow a lot more popular, the consistency that it has 3 small world, it has 3 sign-in mining, you can do like tactics, you can just do all this broken stuff, and even if you brick, you can still just climb into like an update jammer, access code like OTK, so I'm not too worried about it. I feel like if you are going to hit Mathemat in some way, shape, or form, you either ban the trap card or you put Circular to 1, and I feel like that's just going to keep the deck in check. Next on my limits, I have Harp Horror. Let's be honest, I mean, a lot of people want this card back, and honestly, I wouldn't mind having it back. I think the Orcus engine is really cool. I'm definitely a big fan of it, but if people really want to get into like the Orcus cards, then just let them. They're gonna lose. And next on my prediction, I'm very biased here, but I want Masterpiece back. Yeah, I know. A lot of you don't. And you know what? That's okay, because I do. For the last card that I put down on my list, I had also wanted to talk about Branded Opening or Branded Fusion. I think if we do limit Branded Fusion, it's not gonna make a lot of sense, because it is gonna be an ulti in the next OTS pack. So I feel like Branded Opening going to 1 would just be like the more reasonable hit. And yeah, that's really it. I think that's just like the best way to slow down Branded, because it is getting even more support, and the last thing that deck needs is more support, let's be honest. Next, I'm just going to talk about the semi-limits. I don't really think that they matter too much. I think if we are going to get any semi-limits, I think it's just going to be because Konami wants to test stuff before they put the cards back at 3, which is basically what the semi-limits is for. Sorry, malicious. Let's just be honest, Gazelle to 2 doesn't make a difference. I mean, either way, Solomon grade players are still going to open up the 1 of Gazelle, so might as well just give them 2. At 2, I also have Dragonic Diagram. Again, being biased, I'm just a Draco player, but Diagram to 2 would be kind of cool just before they put the card eventually back to 3, just again to test the water, but they can only do that if they don't bring back Masterpiece. So it's like we either get Masterpiece to 1 or we just keep diagram to 2, and just key masterpiece on the ban list. So I just don't think all 3 could be back. So 2 diagram would be cool. I would definitely still want to like test the deck, try and play it again, but 2 diagram, my prediction. The last card that I have at 2, I don't like this deck. I think people that play this deck are just, I wouldn't say scummy, because I think that's just wrong. People that do play this deck, there's a very large fan base that do it, and it is getting more support. I'm talking about Dino. Misc to 2 is sounding like something Konami would do, but at the same time, like, let's be honest, they probably put it at 3 before they put it at 2 just to go ahead and help sell the Dino stuff. But I'm hoping that's not what happens, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys also hope that that doesn't happen as well. And then lastly, for the Unlimits, I don't have anything really written down. I think the only card that I wrote down was just Potted Desires to 3. That's really it. I don't really think that there's anything that really needs to come off the ban list. I think all the stuff that I had listed was just fine. You can argue like Tsuchinoko and Jackalope, but I'm not, because I think those cards should just stay at 2. But yeah, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for my ban list predictions. I really hope you enjoyed it. Sorry the video was just a little bit longer, but you know, that sweet, sweet ad revenue that I just never get because I don't upload videos anymore. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for my predictions. Let me know what you think is going to happen on the next ban list in the comments section down below. And until next time, guys, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video. Take care, everyone.